I'm sitting in my corner office watching the security monitor, and my heart is pounding so hard I can hear it in my ears. My brother Derek has just walked into the building for a job interview at my tech company. Derek has no idea I work here, let alone that I'm the CEO. I haven't seen Derek in 8 years. Not since our parents' final Christmas gathering where Derek got every gift under the tree while I stood outside in the December cold, banned from entering, because I ruined the family. Now Derek needs a job, and I hold all the cards. Let me take you back to where this all started. I'm talking about growing up in suburban Ohio, in a house that looked perfect from the outside, but was poison on the inside. My name is Hamilton, and from the time I was old enough to understand what was happening, I knew something was wrong with my family. Derek is 2 years younger than me. When we were kids, you could see the difference in how our parents treated us just by walking into our bedrooms. Derek's room looked like a toy store exploded in there. He had posters of superheroes covering every wall, a brand new bed with a matching dresser set, shelves packed with video games and action figures. His closet overflowed with clothes, most of them still with tags on because he got bored before he even wore them. My room? I had a creaky bed with a metal frame that squeaked every time I rolled over. My sheets were hand-me-downs from some cousin I barely knew. The walls were bare except for one poster I bought myself with money from mowing lawns. I had maybe 5 shirts and 3 pairs of jeans that actually fit. Everything else was too small or worn through at the knees. I remember this one afternoon in 5th grade. I came home with my report card. Straight A's across the board. I was so proud. I ran into the kitchen where my dad Richard was reading the newspaper, and I put that report card right in front of him. He barely glanced at it. "That's expected," he said, not even looking up. Just like that. Expected. Like excellence was the baseline for me, and anything less would be a problem. That same day, Derek came home with his report card. He had C's and B's. Mostly C's, if I'm being honest. My mom Patricia squealed like he'd won the lottery. She grabbed her purse and announced we were going to Derek's favorite restaurant to celebrate. Not our favorite. Derek's favorite. This place that served burgers and had an arcade in the back. I asked if I could come. My mom looked at me like I'd asked something ridiculous. "Hamilton, you need to stay home and make sure the house is clean. We'll bring you back something." They left me there with a frozen dinner while they took Derek out for his mediocre grades. I sat at the kitchen table alone, eating rubbery chicken, and I knew then that nothing I did would ever be good enough. This pattern continued for years. Every single thing Derek did got celebrated. Every single thing I did got ignored or criticized. Halloween when I was 11 and Derek was 9, my parents took us to the costume store. They bought Derek this elaborate superhero costume, the expensive kind with the padded muscles and the cape that attached with Velcro. Must have cost $60 or $70. They handed me an old bedsheet from the linen closet and told me I could be a ghost. I cut eye holes in that sheet and trick-or-treated, while Derek got compliments all night on his amazing costume. In 5th grade, I landed the lead role in our school play. I was so excited. The drama teacher called my parents to tell them what an achievement it was, how competitive the audition had been. Opening night came, and my parents told me they were too busy to attend. Too busy. But 3 weeks later, Derek was in his 3rd grade play as Tree Number 3. Not even a speaking role. Just a kid in a brown shirt, standing in the background. My parents showed up with a video camera, flowers, and they made this huge production out of it. They took him for ice cream after. I walked home from my play alone. Thanksgiving when I was 12 stands out in my memory like a scar. I spent all day helping my mom cook. I peeled 20 pounds of potatoes. I chopped vegetables until my hands cramped. I set the table, folded napkins, made everything look nice. My mom criticized every single thing I did. The potatoes weren't peeled evenly enough. I chopped the celery too thick. The napkins weren't folded properly. Derek played video games in the living room the entire time, and when dinner was ready, he set the table in about 2 minutes. My mom praised him like he'd saved the world. "Thank you, Derek. At least someone in this family is helpful." My teachers noticed something was off. I'd show up to school sometimes without lunch money because my parents forgot to give it to me, or they said they didn't have cash that day. Meanwhile, Derek always had money for the cafeteria, plus extra for snacks. I started getting really good grades, because I thought maybe, just maybe, if I was smart enough, talented enough, perfect enough, they'd finally see me. They'd finally love me the way they loved Derek. It never worked. Nothing worked. The breaking point came on my 13th birthday. I woke up that morning with this little spark of hope. Maybe this year they'd remember. Maybe this year would be different. I came downstairs to the kitchen, and I heard voices and laughter coming from the living room. I walked in and froze. There were balloons everywhere. Blue and silver balloons, Derek's favorite colors. A banner hung across the fireplace that said, "Happy birthday, Derek." There was a table covered with presents, wrapped in shiny paper. My mom was arranging cookies on a plate, while my dad hung streamers from the ceiling. I stood there confused. "What's going on?" My mom turned around, annoyed that I'd interrupted. "We're throwing Derek a surprise party. His friends will be here in an hour." "But it's not Derek's birthday," I said. "Derek's birthday was 3 months away, in March." "We know that, Hamilton," my dad said, like I was stupid. "We wanted to get ahead of planning. Derek's party is going to be special this year, so we're doing it early." I just stared at them. "Today is my birthday." The room went silent. My mom looked at the calendar on the wall, and I saw the realization cross her face. For a split second, I thought maybe she'd apologize. Maybe she'd feel bad. Instead, she snapped at me. "Stop being selfish, Hamilton. This is Derek's day. You're 13 now. You're old enough to not make everything about you." Derek walked into the room right then, saw all the decorations, and his face lit up. "Is this for me?" "Yes, honey," my mom said, hugging him. "Surprise." Derek looked at me standing there and smirked. He knew it was my birthday. He absolutely knew. I turned around and walked upstairs to my room. I closed the door and sat on my bed, and I cried harder than I'd ever cried before. But worse than the crying was what came after. I heard voices through the heating vent in my floor. The vent connected to the living room, and the voices carried up clearly. It was my parents talking. "Do you think Hamilton is going to cause problems today?" my dad asked. "Probably," my mom said. "He always finds a way to make things difficult. At least Derek turned out right. Hamilton's just, I don't know, difficult." I lay on my bed and stared at the ceiling, listening to my brother's birthday party happening below me on my actual birthday. That was the moment something hardened inside me. I realized with perfect clarity that I would never matter to them. I could be perfect, and it wouldn't make a difference. They'd chosen Derek, and nothing I did would change that. So I made a different choice. I decided that if they wouldn't love me, I'd stop caring. I'd survive this house, and then I'd leave, and I'd make something of myself without them. That determination became my fuel for everything that came after. 3 years passed, and if anything, the favoritism got worse. By the time I turned 16, I'd stopped expecting anything from my parents. I got a part-time job at the grocery store down the street, bagging groceries and stocking shelves. I worked 15 to 20 hours a week and used the money to buy my own clothes, my own school supplies, my own everything. My parents criticized this decision constantly. They said I was abandoning the family, that I cared more about money than spending time at home. The irony wasn't lost on me. They wouldn't buy me anything, but they were mad I was buying things myself. Meanwhile, Derek got whatever he wanted handed to him on a silver platter. When Derek turned 15, 3 months before he could even legally drive, my parents bought him a car. A used Honda Civic. Nothing fancy, but it was his. They parked it in the driveway with a bow on it. Derek couldn't even drive it yet, but there it sat, waiting for him. I asked my dad if I'd get help buying a car when I turned 16. He laughed. Actually laughed. "You've got a job, Hamilton. Save up and buy your own car. Derek needs more support than you do." I didn't bother arguing. I just kept working, kept saving. Christmas season rolled around the year I turned 16, my junior year of high school. I'd been saving money specifically to buy Christmas gifts for my family. I wanted to show them I cared, that I was thinking of them. I spent hours picking out presents. I got my dad a book about World War II history because I'd heard him mention it once in passing. I got my mom a kitchen gadget she'd been wanting, one of those fancy vegetable choppers she'd seen on TV. And I got Derek a video game he'd been asking for, Something about space battles. I wrapped everything carefully and put the gifts under the tree on Christmas Eve morning before my shift at the grocery store. When I got home that night around 8, the house was lit up like a carnival. Every window glowed. Cars lined the street. I walked in through the front door carrying my small presents, and I stopped cold. The living room was packed with people. My mom's sister Carol was there with her husband and kids. Family friends I barely knew filled every chair and couch. The tree was surrounded by mountains of wrapped presents. Christmas music played from the speakers. It smelled like sugar cookies and pine. Derek was holding court in the center of the room, showing off some new gadget he'd gotten early. Everyone was laughing, talking, having this picture-perfect Christmas Eve gathering. My mom saw me first. Her face tightened. "Hamilton, you're home." "Yeah," I said. "I brought the gifts I got everyone." I held up the small wrapped packages. My dad stood up from his chair. "Hamilton, we need to talk. Come into the kitchen." I followed him, confused. My mom came too. They closed the kitchen door behind us. "You can't be here tonight," my dad said. I laughed because I thought he was joking. "What?" "Derek told us you've been mean to him," my mom said. Her arms were crossed. "He said you've been making Christmas miserable for him with your attitude." "What attitude?" I was genuinely confused. "I've barely even talked to Derek this week. I've been working." "That's the problem," my dad said. "You're never here. You're always at that job. Derek feels like you don't care about the family." This was insane. "I got everyone gifts. I'm here now." "It's too late," my mom said. "Derek deserves a peaceful holiday. You're not welcome at Christmas this year." I stared at them. "You're kidding." "Go to your room," my dad said. "You can come down after everyone leaves tomorrow." I felt anger rising in my chest. This is crazy. I live here. It's Christmas Eve, and you're ruining it. Derek's voice came from behind me. I turned, and he was standing in the doorway with this smug look on his face. "See? Always causing drama." "I'm not causing anything," I said. "This is ridiculous." My dad grabbed my arm. His grip was tight enough to hurt. "You need to leave. Now." "Leave where?" I pulled my arm away. "It's 28 degrees outside." "That's not our problem," my mom said. "You made your choice when you decided to be difficult. Go to your room and stay there, or leave the house. Either way, you're not participating in Christmas." I looked at all three of them, and I realized they were serious. Dead serious. My own parents were banning me from Christmas. I turned and walked toward the front door instead of the stairs. If they wanted me gone, I'd leave. I wouldn't hide in my room like some prisoner. "Leave the gifts," my mom called after me. I dropped the wrapped presents on the hall table and walked out into the freezing December night. The cold hit me like a slap. I was wearing jeans and a hoodie, nothing warm enough for this weather. Snow was falling in fat, lazy flakes. I walked down the driveway and onto the sidewalk, not even sure where I was going. Behind me, I could hear Christmas music and laughter spilling from the house. I walked around the neighborhood for over an hour, shivering, trying to process what had just happened. My fingers went numb. My face hurt from the cold. Finally, I remembered that my friend Jake had let me borrow his old car earlier that week because mine was getting repaired. It was parked 3 streets over. I walked there and climbed inside. The car was almost as cold as outside, but at least it blocked the wind. I turned on the engine and let it run for heat. I sat there in that car on Christmas Eve, alone, watching the snow pile up on the windshield. Around midnight, I drove back past my house. Every light was still on. Through the front window, I could see people moving around. I parked down the street and walked closer, standing in the shadow of a neighbor's tree. Through the window, I watched Derek opening presents. He was surrounded by torn wrapping paper and bows. He picked up one of the gifts I'd bought and held it up. It was the video game. He showed it to everyone, grinning. "Look what I got." Nobody mentioned my name. Nobody said, "Hamilton got this for you." Derek took credit for my gift, and everyone applauded. My mom saw me at the window then. She looked right at me, our eyes meeting through the glass. I thought maybe she'd feel guilty. Maybe she'd open the door. Instead, she walked over and closed the curtains. I stood there in the snow for another minute. Then I walked back to the car. I spent the rest of Christmas Eve trying to sleep in the back seat, curled up under Jake's old gym jacket that smelled like sweat and teenage desperation. Christmas morning, I drove back to the house around 10. The other cars were gone. I tried the door. Still locked. I knocked. No answer. I sat on the porch steps and waited. Around 6 in the evening, the door finally opened. My mom stood there looking annoyed. "You can come in now. Make sure you clean up the living room. It's a mess from last night." I walked inside. The house looked like a tornado had hit it. Wrapping paper everywhere, plates with crumbs, cups with dried residue. The tree was surrounded by opened gifts, all of them Derek's. The presents I'd bought were opened and discarded, wrapping paper in the trash. Not a single gift sat under that tree for me. Not one. Derek was in the living room eating Christmas cookies, playing with his new gadgets. He looked up at me and smiled. "Maybe next year you'll be better." Something broke inside me that night. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just a quiet snap, like a thread pulled too tight. I cleaned that living room in silence, and I made myself a promise. I was getting out of this house. Whatever it took. The Christmas band became a tradition after that. Every December, like clockwork, I was either locked out or sent away. Sometimes they'd make me stay in my room. Sometimes they'd send me to run errands that didn't exist. Once, they sent me to stay with my mom's brother 2 towns over, telling him I was going through a difficult phase and needed space from the family during the holidays. I stopped fighting it. I just accepted that Christmas wasn't for me. I threw myself into school instead. Senior year, I took every advanced class available. I studied until 2 in the morning most nights. My teachers started talking to me about college, about scholarships, about getting out of Ohio and seeing what else the world had to offer. I applied to 15 schools, all of them far from home. California, Washington, Oregon, anywhere that was as far from my parents as possible. In March, I got my acceptance letters. The big one came from a prestigious university in California, a school known for computer science and business programs. They offered me a full scholarship, full ride. Tuition, room, board, everything covered. I was ecstatic. This was my ticket out. I'd work my job until August, save every penny for moving expenses and supplies the scholarship didn't cover, and then I'd leave this house forever. I made the mistake of telling my parents. I brought the acceptance letter down to dinner one night in April. I was so proud of that letter. I put it on the table next to my dad's plate. "I got into the University of California," I said. "Full scholarship." My dad picked up the letter, read it, and put it back down. "California? That's ridiculous. You'll go to community college here." "But it's a full scholarship," I said. "One of the best programs in the country." My mom looked up from her plate. "You're not leaving Derek. He needs his brother." I almost laughed. Derek ignores me. He treats me like garbage. Derek, sitting across from me, immediately put on his wounded expression. "See how he talks about me?" "That's enough," my dad said. "You're staying in Ohio. End of discussion." "No," I said. The word felt powerful in my mouth. "I'm 18 in 2 months. I got a full scholarship. I'm going." My parents exchanged a look. "We'll see about that," my mom said. I should have known they'd retaliate. I should have seen it coming. It was a Tuesday in May, about 3 weeks before graduation. I came home from my shift at the grocery store around 9 at night. I was tired. My feet hurt from standing all day, and I just wanted to eat something and sleep. I walked upstairs to my room and opened the door. Everything was gone. My bed was stripped bare, the mattress missing. My dresser was empty, drawers pulled out. My desk where I did homework was cleared off. My clothes, my books, my laptop I'd saved for months to buy, my acceptance letters, everything, gone. I ran downstairs. "Where's my stuff?" My dad was watching TV in the living room. "In the garage. We're remodeling your room." "Remodeling for what?" "Derek wants more space," my mom said from the kitchen. "We're knocking down the wall between your rooms. He's a growing boy." I ran to the garage. My belongings were there, stuffed into black trash bags like garbage. I tore open the bags looking for my laptop, my important papers, my documents. Most of it was there. But one thing was missing. The envelope where I kept my savings. I ran back inside. "Where's my money?" "What money?" my dad asked, not looking away from the TV. "My savings. $2,300. It was in my room." My mom came out of the kitchen. "That money is for family expenses. You live under our roof. You owe us." "That's my money," I shouted. "I earned it. That's for college, for moving expenses." My dad finally looked at me. "You're a minor. Everything you earn legally belongs to us. If you have a problem with that, call the police. See what they say." I felt sick. They'd stolen from me. My own parents had stolen the money I'd worked for months to save. Money I needed to start my new life. "You can't do this," I said. "We just did," my mom said. "And Hamilton? You're sleeping in the garage until we figure out what to do with you. Derek needs his space." I looked at both of them, and I saw nothing. No love, no regret, no humanity, just cold indifference. Derek walked past me carrying a box of my stuff toward the stairs. "Thanks for the extra room, bro," he said with a grin. I spent the next 3 days sleeping in the garage among my trash-bagged belongings. It was cold at night, even in May. I used my winter coat as a blanket. I showered at school using the locker room. I ate lunch at work and skipped dinner most nights, because facing my parents made me want to scream. Graduation day came on a Saturday in June. It was sunny, beautiful, one of those perfect late spring days. I put on my cap and gown at school. I sat in the gymnasium with 400 other seniors, listening to speeches about bright futures and limitless potential. When they called my name, I walked across that stage alone. Hamilton Reynolds, valedictorian, full scholarship to the University of California, Berkeley. There was applause, but it was scattered, polite. Most kids had their families there cheering. I had nobody. My parents had taken Derek to an amusement park that day because he wanted to go. They didn't even try to make an excuse. They just left. I collected my diploma, shook the principal's hand, and walked back to my seat. I watched other graduates hug their parents, take photos, celebrate. I sat alone in my chair until the ceremony ended. That night, I made my decision. I couldn't stay in that house another day. I couldn't wait until August. I had to leave now. I sold everything I could. My laptop, my phone, some collectibles I'd kept from childhood. I made $800. It wasn't much, but it was something. I packed one duffel bag with clothes and essentials. I wrote a note and left it on the kitchen counter. "I'm going to school. Don't contact me." On Monday morning, while my parents were at work and Derek was sleeping in until noon like he always did, I walked out of that house for the last time. I took a bus to the Greyhound station and bought a one-way ticket to Berkeley, California. The bus left at 2 in the afternoon. I sat in the back and watched Ohio disappear through the window, and I felt terror and relief in equal measure. I had $800 to my name, one bag of belongings, and a full scholarship to a school that didn't start until August. I had no safety net, no backup plan, no idea what I'd do for the next 2 months. But I was free, and that felt better than anything else in my life ever had. The first year in California was the hardest year of my life, and that's saying something considering what I'd been through. I arrived in Berkeley in June with my $800 and nowhere to stay. The dorms didn't open until August. I spent the first week sleeping in a youth hostel that cost $25 a night. I knew the math didn't work. I'd run out of money in less than a month. I found a tiny room for rent in a house near campus. The landlord was an older woman named Ruth who took pity on me when I explained I was starting school in the fall. She charged me $400 a month, which was cheap for Berkeley but astronomical for me. That first month's rent took half my money. I got 3 jobs immediately. I worked at the campus library 10 hours a week, even though school hadn't started yet. They needed help organizing the summer inventory. I got a job at a coffee shop near Telegraph Avenue working 20 hours a week. And I found weekend work doing IT support for small businesses, fixing computers, and setting up networks. I was working 35 to 40 hours a week while waiting for school to start. I ate rice and beans most days because they were cheap. A 10-pound bag of rice cost $8 and lasted 2 weeks. I learned to cook in Ruth's kitchen, making simple meals that would stretch When August came and school started, my life became a blur of classes and work. My scholarship covered tuition and gave me a meal plan, which helped, but I still had rent and expenses. I kept all 3 jobs and added a full course load on top. I'd wake up at 6 in the morning, go to classes until 2, work at the coffee shop from 3 to 8, then go back to my room and study until midnight. Weekends I did IT support work. I had no social life. I didn't go to parties or football games or any of the normal college things. I couldn't afford to. During Thanksgiving break my first year, campus emptied out. Everyone went home to their families. I stayed in my room and worked double shifts at the coffee shop because they needed holiday coverage. I made $200 that weekend, which felt like a fortune. Christmas break was the same. I worked through the entire holiday, picking up every shift I could. On Christmas Day, the coffee shop was closed, but I found a restaurant that needed a dishwasher for their holiday service. I washed dishes for 10 hours straight and made $150 plus tips from the kitchen staff who felt bad for me working on Christmas. I didn't hear from my parents at all. Not a call, not a text, nothing. I'd blocked their numbers anyway, but I sometimes wondered if they'd tried. I doubted it. Then, 6 months into my first year, my mom called from a number I didn't recognize. I answered without thinking. "Hamilton?" Her voice sounded the same. "What do you want? Is that any way to talk to your mother?" I almost laughed. "I'm hanging up." "Wait," she said. "Derek's having trouble in school. He needs help with tuition. Can you send money?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Are you serious?" "Family helps family. Hamilton." "You stole my college savings," I said. "You banned me from Christmas. You threw me out. And now you want me to send money? We made mistakes. But Derek is your brother. He needs help." I hung up. She called back twice. I blocked the new number. That was the last time I spoke to either of my parents for years. I focused on school instead. Computer science came naturally to me. I'd always been good with technology, and I had this drive to succeed that most of my classmates didn't have. For them, college was an experience. For me, it was survival. Sophomore year, I started teaching myself advanced coding in my spare time, which I didn't really have, but I made it anyway. I built a simple productivity app just to practice my skills. It was nothing fancy, just a way to organize tasks and schedules. I showed it to some people in my dorm, and they loved it. They told their friends. Within a month, 200 students on campus were using my app. That's when I met Aaron. He was a business major, smart, ambitious, the kind of guy who saw opportunities everywhere. He approached me at the coffee shop one day where I was working. "You're Hamilton, right? You made that task app?" "Yeah," I said, making his cappuccino. "It's good. Really good. Have you thought about expanding it?" I shrugged. "It's just a side project." "It could be more," Aaron said. "I've been looking for a technical co-founder. You interested in talking?" We met that weekend. Aaron had ideas, big ideas, about turning my simple app into a full platform for workplace productivity. He had business plans, market research, projections. I had the technical skills to build it. We shook hands and became partners. Junior year, we formed an official company. We called it TaskFlow Systems. We worked out of my dorm room, coding until 3 in the morning, living on energy drinks and ambition. Aaron handled the business side, pitching to potential investors. I handled the technology, building features, fixing bugs, making the platform better. By the end of junior year, we had 5,000 users and our first investor. A venture capital firm gave us $100,000 in seed funding. It felt like winning the lottery. Senior year, everything accelerated. We moved out of the dorm and into a real office, just a small space above a sandwich shop, but it was ours. We hired 3 employees. Our user base grew to 50,000. We started landing contracts with actual companies who wanted to use TaskFlow for their teams. I graduated summa cum laude in May. My parents didn't attend. I didn't invite them, and I doubt they would have come anyway. I walked across that stage, got my degree, and went straight back to work building my company. By the time I turned 24, TaskFlow had 200 employees and contracts with Fortune 500 companies. We'd grown beyond anything I'd imagined. Aaron wanted to expand internationally. I wanted to focus on perfecting the technology. We had different visions for the company's future. Aaron decided to leave and start something new. We parted as friends, but it meant I became sole CEO. At 24 years old, I was running a multi-million-dollar company. By 25, we went public. The IPO was successful beyond anyone's predictions. Overnight, on paper at least, I was worth $70 million. I bought a house in the hills overlooking San Francisco Bay. I drove a nice car. I wore expensive suits. I gave talks at tech conferences. I was featured in magazines as a young entrepreneur to watch. But I was alone. I worked 80-hour weeks. I had no real friends, except for business acquaintances. I'd been on maybe 3 dates in 7 years, and none of them went anywhere because I didn't know how to connect with people. My childhood had broken something in me, and success hadn't fixed it. Sometimes, late at night in my big empty house, I wondered if it was all worth it. Then I'd remember my parents' faces when they locked me out on Christmas, and I'd know that yes, it was worth it. Because I'd proven them wrong. I'd survived without them. I'd thrived without them. I didn't need their love or approval. I had my own life now. Or at least, that's what I told myself. One day in September, I was scrolling through social media on a fake account. I kept just to occasionally check on my family. I hadn't looked in months. I pulled up my mother's profile. The post told a story. For years, it had been nothing but Derek. Derek at his high school graduation, barely scraping by. Derek at community college. Derek at some retail job. Derek getting engaged to a woman named Stephanie. My parents treated it like a royal wedding. Then the post changed tone. The engagement was called off. Stephanie had left Derek. My mother's post became vague and worried. Prayers for our family during difficult times. That kind of thing. The most recent post was from 2 weeks ago. My mother had written, "Does anyone know of job openings? My son Derek is looking for work. He's a hard worker and fast learner. Please message me if you can help." Reading between the lines, Derek was unemployed and struggling. I felt a complicated mix of emotions. Part of me felt vindicated. The golden child had fallen. But another part, a part I didn't want to acknowledge, felt sad. Not for Derek exactly, but for the whole broken mess of our family. I closed the app and went back to work. 2 days later, my HR director Janet knocked on my office door. She was holding a tablet and looked slightly confused. "Hamilton, I need to run something by you." "What's up?" "We got an application for the entry-level IT support position." The last name caught my eye. She handed me the tablet. I looked at the screen, and my heart stopped. Derek Reynolds. My brother's name. My parents' home address in Ohio. A resume full of short-term jobs. No college degree. Generic cover letter. "Any relation to you?" Janet asked. I stared at that application for a long moment. Derek had no idea I owned this company. He'd applied through the general website portal. He was probably sending applications to dozens of companies, desperate for anything. My brother needed a job, and he'd applied to my company without knowing it. "Schedule the interview," I said. "I want to sit in on it." Janet looked surprised. "You don't usually interview entry-level candidates." "This one's special," I said. "Don't tell him I'll be there." "Standard panel interview, but add me as a surprise attendee." Janet agreed, though I could see her confusion. The interview was scheduled for 2 weeks out. That gave me 14 days to think about what I was going to do. 14 days to decide if I wanted revenge or redemption, or maybe both. The morning of Derek's interview, I got to the office at 6:30, 3 hours before he was scheduled to arrive. I couldn't sleep anyway, so I figured I might as well be productive. I pulled up his application again and read through it carefully. The lies jumped out at me immediately. He claimed to have management experience at a warehouse job in Cincinnati. I knew that warehouse. A friend of mine from school had interned there. I made a call, pulled some strings, got the real story. Derek had worked there for exactly 12 weeks before being fired for chronic tardiness and poor performance. His cover letter talked about being a team player and passionate about technology. It was generic corporate speak, the kind of thing you copy from a template online. Nothing in the application suggested he actually knew anything about IT support or had any real skills. But he was desperate. That came through clearly. I briefed Janet and Marcus, our head of IT, before the interview. "Don't mention my connection until I decide the moment is right," I said. "Just conduct a normal interview. I'll join partway through." They both looked confused but agreed. At 9:45, security called up. "Mr. Reynolds, there's a Derek Reynolds here for an interview." "Send him to the waiting area," I said. "Have Janet collect him at 10. I pulled up the security camera feed on my computer. There was Derek in the lobby, wearing a suit that didn't fit right. The jacket was too big in the shoulders, the pants too long. He looked nervous, fidgeting with his phone, checking the time every 30 seconds. He looked older than I remembered. 27 now, same age I'd been when I left home. But he looked worn down. His hair was thinning a bit. He'd gained weight. He had this defeated slump to his shoulders. Part of me felt satisfaction seeing him like this. The golden child had tarnished. But another part, a part I tried to ignore, just felt sad. At exactly 10, Janet walked into the lobby and greeted Derek. "Mr. Reynolds, I'm Janet Chen, head of HR. Thank you for coming in today." They shook hands and walked toward the conference room. I watched on the monitors. Derek followed Janet through the office, looking around at the modern furniture, the tech displays, the employees working at their stations. He looked impressed and intimidated in equal measure. They entered conference room B, the one with glass walls overlooking the bay. Marcus was already there, standing by the window. He turned when they entered. "Derek, this is Marcus Webb, our IT director," Janet said. "He'll be conducting the interview with me today." More handshakes. Derek sat down in the chair facing the window. His back was to the door. "Perfect." I watched on my monitor as Janet started with basic questions. "Tell us about your background, Derek. What interests you about this position?" Derek launched into his rehearsed answer. I could tell he'd practiced it. He talked about always being interested in technology, wanting to learn from experienced professionals, looking for a company where he could grow. It sounded hollow, empty. Marcus asked about his technical experience. "What operating systems are you familiar with?" Windows mostly. Some Mac stuff. "Have you worked with any enterprise-level systems? Active Directory, network administration, anything like that?" Derek fumbled. "Not specifically, but I'm a fast learner." This went on for 10 minutes. Derek was clearly out of his depth. Every technical question, he gave vague non-answers. He didn't have the skills for this job. He probably didn't have the skills for any IT job. I stood up from my desk. Time to join the interview. I walked down the hall to conference room B. Through the glass wall, I could see Derek's back. Could see Janet and Marcus facing him. Neither of them saw me approach. I opened the door and walked in. Derek was mid-sentence, answering a question about problem solving. He stopped when the door opened, turned in his chair to see who was entering. Our eyes met. I watched the confusion cross his face first, then recognition, then shock. "Hamilton?" His voice cracked on my name. I closed the door behind me and walked to the empty chair next to Marcus. I sat down, straightened my tie, and looked directly at my brother. "Hello, Derek." He looked around the room, trying to make sense of what was happening. What are you doing here? Do you work here?" Janet spoke up, her voice professional. "Derek, this is Hamilton Reynolds, CEO and founder of TaskFlow Systems." The color drained from Derek's face. Literally drained. He went pale, his mouth hanging open slightly. "CEO?" He could barely get the word out. This is your company?" "Yes," I said simply. "Shall we continue the interview?" Derek couldn't form words. He just stared at me like I was a ghost. Marcus, bless him, tried to continue professionally. "Derek, let's talk about your management experience. Your resume says you supervised a team at Riverside Warehouse." Derek didn't respond. He was still staring at me. "Derek?" Marcus prompted. What?" Derek finally looked at Marcus. "Sorry. What was the question?" "Your management experience," Marcus repeated. Derek tried to answer, but he was rattled. I worked at the warehouse for a while." I helped with, you know, logistics stuff. I leaned forward. How long exactly did you work there, Derek? He looked at me. A few months. 12 weeks, I said. I called them. You were fired for attendance issues. Derek's face went red. They made a mistake, did they? I pulled up the records on my tablet and turned it toward him. Because according to their HR department, you showed up late 18 times in 12 weeks and called in sick 12 times. He couldn't meet my eyes. The job wasn't a good fit. Let's talk about your other positions, I said. I went through his resume line by line, dismantling every embellishment, every half-truth. Janet and Marcus sat there looking increasingly uncomfortable, but I couldn't stop. This was my brother. The brother who'd smirked at me while I froze outside on Christmas. The brother who'd taken credit for gifts I bought. The brother who'd moved into my room after our parents threw me out. And now he was here, in my company, needing something from me. Why should I hire you? I asked finally. Derek looked defeated. I don't know. You don't have the skills for this position. You lied on your application. You've never held a job for more than 6 months. Give me one good reason. Derek stood up suddenly. Why are you doing this? I'm conducting an interview, I said calmly. No, you're humiliating me. His voice was rising. You're enjoying this. Am I? I stood too, facing him across the table. Tell me, Derek, do you remember Christmas when I was 16? He looked down. That was Mom and Dad. You stood there and watched. You smiled. You took the gifts I bought with money from my job and opened them like they were from you. I was just a kid, Hamilton. You were 15, old enough to know better. You made my life hell, and you loved every minute of it. The room was silent. Janet and Marcus looked like they wanted to be anywhere else. Derek's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry. I really am. I'm really messed up right now, Hamilton. Tell me, I said, my voice cold. I need this job. I need any job. I haven't worked in 4 months. Stephanie left me. I'm living on a friend's couch. I have $200 to my name. The words tumbled out. I saw this job posting online, and I applied to like 50 places. I didn't know you were here. I didn't know you were successful. I didn't know anything about your life. Why would you? I said. You never cared before. I know. He wiped his eyes. I was a terrible brother. I'm so sorry. Sorry now that you need something. No, he said. I've been sorry for years. I just didn't know how to say it. Mom and Dad cut me off 6 months ago, and that's when I finally understood. I understood what they did to you, what we all did to you. I felt my phone buzz in my pocket. I pulled it out. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me check. It was a text from my mother. Hamilton, I don't know if you'll read this. Someone told me you're successful now. Derek is struggling. He's your brother. Family helps family. Can you help him? He needs money and a job. Please respond. I felt rage surge through me. Of course. They'd somehow found out Derek applied here. They were trying to use me. Another text came through immediately. We made mistakes, but Derek is family. Be the bigger person. I showed the text to Derek. Did you tell them you applied here? He shook his head quickly. No, I don't talk to them anymore. But somehow they know, I said. Somehow they're texting me right now, demanding I help you. Derek looked sick. I didn't tell them. I swear. Another text. You owe your family, Hamilton. After everything we did for you. I almost laughed. After everything they did for me. The delusion was stunning. I looked at Derek. Did they ever apologize to you? For cutting you off? No, Derek said quietly. They just stopped answering my calls. Told me I was an embarrassment and I needed to figure my life out. So now you know, I said. They never loved either of us. They loved having a son they could show off. When you stopped being perfect, you became disposable. Just like I was. Derek nodded. I get it now. I really do. And I'm so sorry for everything. For how I treated you. For not standing up for you. For being part of the problem. I stood there looking at my brother. This broken man who'd once had everything handed to him. And I felt something shift inside me. I could destroy him right now. Send him away with nothing. Let him feel the pain I felt for all those years. Or I could do something different. Something my parents never did. Janet, Marcus, I said, give us the room. They left quickly, clearly relieved to escape the family drama. Derek and I were alone. The silence in the conference room was heavy. Through the glass walls, I could see employees walking past, going about their normal day, completely unaware of the confrontation happening in here. Derek stood there waiting, not sitting back down. He looked exhausted, defeated, like a man who'd already accepted the worst. I don't expect you to hire me, he said finally. I just needed to say I'm sorry. For all of it. For being a terrible brother. For letting Mom and Dad treat you that way. For treating you that way myself. I walked to the window and looked out at the city. San Francisco spread out below us, glittering in the morning Sunday. I'd built all of this. Every bit of success I had came from walking away from my family and deciding to make something of myself. Why did you do it? I asked, not turning around. Why did you treat me like that? Honestly, Derek's voice was quiet. I was jealous. You were smart, talented, good at everything. I wasn't. The only thing I had was Mom and Dad's attention. And I knew, even then, that if they ever actually looked at you, really looked at you, they'd see how much better you were than me. I turned around. So you made sure they never looked? Yeah. He nodded. I sabotaged you because I was scared of being invisible. And now I am anyway. Turns out their love was conditional for me too. I just didn't know it until I stopped being useful. The honesty in his voice surprised me. This wasn't the cocky, smug brother I remembered. This was someone who'd been broken by the same parents who'd broken me, just in a different way. My phone buzzed again. Another text from my mother. Hamilton. Answer me. Derek is your responsibility too. I felt my jaw clench. Even now. Even after everything. She was making demands. No apology for what she'd done to me. No acknowledgement of the pain she'd caused. Just demands that I fix her mess. They're still texting, I said, showing Derek the screen. He closed his eyes. I'm sorry. I don't know how they found out. It doesn't matter. I made a decision. I called Janet back into the room. She appeared within seconds. Yes? Send me Derek's application file and the standard employee onboarding forms, I said. Derek looked confused. What? I turned to him. I'm not hiring you for the IT position. His face fell. I understand. Sit down, I said. I'm not done. He's Saturday. I sat across from him. You're right. You're not qualified for IT support. You'd be terrible at it. You don't have the skills, the experience, or the knowledge. I know, he said quietly, but I'm going to offer you something else. I paused, making sure he was listening. There's an opening in our mailroom. It's the lowest position in this building. You'd be sorting mail, delivering packages, handling basic administrative tasks. Minimum wage, 40 hours a week. Derek stared at me. The mailroom? It's grunt work, I said. You'd start at 7 in the morning. You'd be on your feet most of the day. You'd answer to a supervisor who won't care about your last name or your situation. You'd be held to the same standards as every other employee. Why would you do that? His voice cracked. After everything, because someone has to break the cycle, I said. Mom and Dad destroyed us both. In different ways. But they destroyed us. I'm not going to become them. I'm not going to be cruel just because I have the power to be. I don't deserve this. Probably not, I agreed. But here are the conditions. And they're non-negotiable. I held up one finger. First, you never mention to anyone here that we're brothers. You earn respect on your own merit, not because of a connection to me. Second finger. Second, you're on probation for 6 months. One mistake, one instance of being late, one complaint about your work ethic, and you're gone. No second chances. Third finger. Third, you address your drinking. I don't care if it's AA, therapy, or some other program, but you deal with it. I won't have an alcoholic working in my company. Fourth finger. Fourth, you never contact Mom and Dad on my behalf. Whatever relationship or non-relationship I have with them is mine alone. You don't mention me to them. You don't tell them where I work or what I do. As far as they know, You're working some random job you found online. I can do all that, Derek said quickly. I swear. And Derek? I leaned forward. If you screw this up, if you lie, if you coast, if you treat this like a handout, I will fire you so fast your head will spin. This is your one chance. Your only chance. Don't waste it. I won't, he said. I promise I won't. You start Monday at 7 a.m. Janet will send you the onboarding information. I stood up. Don't be late. Derek stood too. He looked like he wanted to hug me or something, but he held back. Thank you, Hamilton. I won't let you down. We'll see. I walked to the door, then turned back. One more thing. If you want to thank me, prove it. Work hard. Show up. Be the person you should have been all along. I left the conference room and went back to my office. My hands were shaking. I'd just given my brother a job. The brother who'd made my childhood hell. The brother who'd stood by while our parents abused me. I didn't know if it was the right decision, but it felt like the only decision I could live with. My phone buzzed again. My mother. Hamilton. Did you see Derek? Can you help? I typed back. I saw him. Don't contact me again. Her response came immediately. How dare you speak to your mother that way? After everything we did for you. I felt that familiar anger. But this time it was cold. Controlled. Everything you did? You mean banning me from Christmas? Stealing my money? Locking me out in the cold? Choosing Derek every single day. We made mistakes, but we're family. No, I typed. Family doesn't do what you did. Family doesn't throw people away. Derek needs help. You're successful now. You should help. I am helping Derek. But not for you. For him. And for the brother I wish I'd had. If you don't help more, you'll regret it. Derek could sue you. Claim you owe him. There it was. The threat. The true nature of Patricia Reynolds showing through. Even now, she was trying to manipulate and control. I typed my final response. Let him try. I have 8 years of therapy records documenting your abuse. Text messages. Witnesses. My childhood medical records showing malnutrition. Try me. I hit send and then blocked the number. Immediately, my phone rang. My father's number. I blocked it without answering. Another text came through, this time from Derek. They're calling me demanding to know what happened. What should I tell them? I responded, whatever you want. But remember, they only want you when they can use you. They'll pressure you to spy on me, to get information, to ask for money. Don't fall for it. I won't, Derek replied. I'm blocking them too. I put my phone down and tried to focus on work. It was impossible. My mind kept racing through the confrontation, the decision, the texts from my mother. Friday afternoon came. 3 days had passed since the interview. I was in my office reviewing quarterly reports when security called. Mr. Reynolds, there are 2 people in the lobby demanding to see you. They say they're your parents, Richard and Patricia Reynolds. My heart started pounding. Are they causing a scene? Not yet, sir. But they're insistent. I could have them removed. I could have security escort them out and ban them from the building. I had that power. But part of me needed this. Needed to face them one final time. Needed to say everything I'd never been able to say as a child. Send them to conference room B, I said. I'll be down in 5 minutes. I took those 5 minutes to compose myself. I looked at my reflection in the office window. I was 33 years old, CEO of a successful company, wealthy beyond anything I'd imagined as a kid. I'd made it. I'd survived them. They couldn't hurt me anymore. I walked down to the conference room. I stood outside conference room B for a moment, collecting my thoughts. Through the glass wall, I could see them. My father, Richard, looking older than I remembered, gray at the temples, wearing a cheap suit. My mother, Patricia, her hair done up nice, dressed like she was going somewhere important. They looked small somehow, diminished. Not the towering figures of authority from my childhood, but 2 middle-aged people who'd driven all the way from Ohio because they wanted something. I opened the door and walked in. My mother jumped up immediately. Finally. We've been waiting for 20 minutes. I didn't sit. I stood by the door. You have 5 minutes. Say what you came to say. That's no way to greet your parents, my father said. You stopped being my parents a long time ago. 4 minutes and 30 seconds. My mother's face hardened. We're here about Derek. We heard you gave him some job. That's none of your business. He's our son, my father said. Everything about him is our business. Then you should have thought of that before you cut him off for embarrassing you, I said. 3 minutes. Don't be dramatic, my mother said. We need you to give Derek a real job. Something in management. Something with a good salary. He has a job. Mailroom. Minimum wage. That's not good enough, my father said. He's your brother. You owe him better than that. I almost laughed. I owe him? Tell me what I owe any of you. Go ahead. I'll wait. My mother switched tactics, her voice going soft and maternal in that fake way she had. Hamilton, we know things were difficult when you were young. Difficult, I repeated. Is that what you call it? We did our best, my father said. We raised you. We put a roof over your head. You met the legal minimum requirements to not be charged with neglect, I said. You want credit for that? You want me to thank you for not being criminally negligent? We made some mistakes, my mother admitted. But you turned out fine. Look at you now. Our tough love worked. The gaslighting was breathtaking. They were actually trying to take credit for my success. Your tough love? I felt my voice rising. You locked me outside in freezing weather on Christmas. You stole my college savings. You erased me from the family photo albums. You forgot my birthday to celebrate Derek's 3 months early. That wasn't tough love. That was abuse. You're being dramatic, my father said. You always were dramatic. I have therapy records, I said. 8 years of documented trauma. Medical records from college showing I was malnourished and depressed. Witnesses who saw what you did. Don't tell me I'm being dramatic. My mother's face went red. We're not here to talk about the past. We're here because Derek needs help, and you have the resources to provide it. Derek has a job. Give him something better, my father demanded. A director position. Good salary. Benefits. Set him up properly. And suddenly I understood. This wasn't about Derek at all. You want me to give Derek a high-paying job so he can support you again, I said. That's what this is really about. The silence that followed told me I was right. We're his parents. My father finally said, he should help us. Like you helped him when he was struggling? Oh, wait. You cut him off and stopped taking his calls. That was different, my mother said. He was making poor choices. And there it is, I said. You only love us when we're useful. When we make you look good. The second we stop serving your needs, you throw us away. That's not true, my mother protested, but her voice was weak. Derek's job stands as is, I said. If he works hard, maybe he'll advance. Maybe not. That's up to him. I won't give him special treatment. But he's your brother, my mother said. Exactly. And the best thing I can do for him is let him earn his own way. Let him build something himself, like I had to. Maybe he'll become someone real instead of someone dependent on handouts. My father stood up, trying to use his height to intimidate me like he did when I was a kid. We could make trouble for you. Tell the media you refuse to help your struggling family. I didn't flinch. Do it. I have documentation of everything you did. Therapist notes. Text messages from you asking for money. Witnesses. Your own social media that never once mentioned me in 18 years. Your bank records showing you stole my savings. Go ahead. Call the media. Let's see whose story they believe. They both looked at each other, realizing they had no leverage. My mother tried tears next. Her eyes welled up in that practiced way. How can you be so cruel to your own mother? After I gave birth to you, raised you, sacrificed for you. You sacrificed nothing, I said. You gave everything to Derek and gave me scraps. You made me invisible in my own home. You taught me that love was conditional, that worth was measured by usefulness. Well, congratulations. You were excellent teachers. Now you're not useful to me, so why should I care? You'll regret this, my father said. When we're gone, you'll have no family. I already have no family, I said. I've been alone since I was 13 years old. I'm comfortable with it now. Derek will choose us over you, my mother said spitefully. Blood is thicker than water. Maybe, I said. That's his choice. But I'm not afraid of being alone anymore. I've built a life. I have people who value me for who I am, not what I can give them. Can you say the same? I pressed the intercom button on the conference room phone. Security to conference room B. Please. Hamilton, please, my mother said. We need help. We're struggling financially. And that's my problem because we're your parents. No, I said. You were the people who had biological custody of me for 18 years. That's all. Parents love their children. They protect them. They show up for them. You did none of those things. Security arrived at the door. 2 officers I knew well, both professional and discreet. Please escort these people out of the building, I said. They're not welcome here. You can't do this, my father said. This is my building. I absolutely can. As the security officers moved to guide them out, my mother shouted, You're making a mistake. Family is everything. You'll be sorry. I've been sorry my whole life, I said. Sorry I was born into your family. Sorry I wasted years trying to earn love that didn't exist. But I'm not sorry anymore. Leaving you was the best decision I ever made. This is the second best. They were escorted out. My mother still yelling. My father threatening lawyers. I watched them go through the glass walls until they disappeared around the corner. Then I went back to my office, closed the door, and let myself feel everything. The anger, the pain, the relief. All of it washed over me at once. I'd finally said everything I needed to say. I'd faced them as an equal, not as their powerless child. And I'd won. Monday morning came. I got to the office at my usual time, 6:30 a.m. At 6:55, I saw Derek walk through the front doors. He was early. Good sign. He was wearing simple work clothes, jeans, and a company polo shirt Janet must have given him. He checked in at the mailroom, met his supervisor, and got to work. I watched from my office occasionally throughout that first week. Derek worked hard. He showed up on time every day. He didn't complain. He did the grunt work without attitude. 2 weeks in, he approached me in the parking garage one evening. I was getting into my car. Hamilton, he called out. I turned. Derek, can I talk to you for a minute? Go ahead. Mom and Dad contacted me, he said. They wanted me to convince you to give me a better position, to share my salary with them, to tell them about your business and your money. My stomach tightened. And I told them no, Derek said. I told them I wasn't going to be their tool anymore. Then I blocked their numbers. All of them. Why? Because you were right. They only love us when we're useful. I'm tired of being useful to someone who never actually cared about me. He paused. And because I want to earn this. I want to prove that I'm more than the golden child who couldn't function without Mommy and Daddy's approval. I nodded slowly. Good. I know I don't deserve your trust, Derek continued. But I want to earn it. Not for them. For me. I want to be someone I'm proud of. Then do the work, I said. Show up. Be consistent. Prove it. I will. Over the next few months, Derek did exactly that. He showed up every day. He went to AA meetings twice a week. He started seeing a therapist. He worked hard at his mailroom job and never once complained or asked for special treatment. 6 months later, when his probation period ended, I promoted him to an entry-level position in IT support. Not because he was my brother, but because he'd earned it. His supervisor had nothing but good things to say about his work ethic and attitude. Derek sent me a text that evening. Thank you for seeing who I could be, not just who I was. I saved the message but didn't respond right away. Trust takes time. Forgiveness takes even longer. But it was a start. Christmas Eve came around that year. For the first time in my adult life, I didn't work through the holidays. My friend Aaron, who I'd reconnected with, invited me to his parents' house for their family gathering. I almost said no out of habit, but something made me say yes. I drove to their house in Palo Alto, a warm, lived-in place with lights on every window and a wreath on the door. When I knocked, Aaron's mother answered, Hamilton, come on. We're so glad you came. She hugged me. An actual, genuine hug from someone who barely knew me but was happy I was there. Inside, the house was full of people. Aaron's extended family, friends, neighbors. Not a formal dinner, just people gathered together because they wanted to be. The tree was crooked. The decorations were handmade and mismatched. Food covered every surface of the kitchen. It was nothing like the perfect, staged Christmases at my parents' house. It was messy and loud and real. Aaron's dad handed me a beer. "Thanks for coming, son. Aaron's told us a lot about you." We sat around talking, laughing, sharing stories. Nobody asked me about my success or my company. They just treated me like a person, like I belonged there. At some point, my phone buzzed. A text from Derek. "Merry Christmas, brother. Thank you for everything. I hope you're somewhere good tonight." I smiled and texted back. "Merry Christmas. Proud of your progress. Keep it up." Looking around at Aaron's family, feeling the warmth of genuine connection for maybe the first time in my life, I realized something important. Family isn't about blood. It's not about who gave birth to you or who shares your DNA. Family is about who shows up, who sees you, who chooses to be there. My parents taught me what family shouldn't be. They taught me about conditional love and manipulation and cruelty disguised as discipline. But in surviving them, in building my own life, I learned what family could be. It could be the friends who stood by you, the mentors who believed in you, the people who saw your worth when no one else did, the community you built by showing up authentically and vulnerably. As I sat there on Christmas Eve, surrounded by people who'd welcomed me into their celebration, I felt something I'd never felt in my parents' house. I felt at home. Some people spend their whole lives chasing approval from people who'll never give it. I spent years doing that, working myself to exhaustion, trying to earn love that didn't exist. The day I stopped chasing their approval was the day I started living. My parents wanted a son who'd make them look good, someone they could show off and take credit for. Instead, they got a son who made himself into something real, something earned, something they had nothing to do with. Derek got a second chance because someone had to break the cycle. Whether he makes something of it is up to him. So far, he's doing the work. Maybe we'll never be close, but we're both free from our parents' manipulation now. We're both building our own lives on our own terms. And me? I learned that success isn't measured by money or companies or achievements. It's measured by who you become, in spite of everything trying to break you. I was banned from Christmas for years, locked out in the cold, erased from my family, made invisible in my own home. But I built my own life, my own meaning, my own joy, and that's a gift no one can ever take away. Now I want to ask you something. Have you ever had to walk away from toxic family members to save yourself? How did you find the strength to do it? And for those who stayed and tried to fix things, what helped you set boundaries while maintaining the relationship? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share this with someone who might need to hear it, someone who's struggling with difficult family dynamics or working through their own journey of healing. Your support means everything and helps these stories reach people who need them most. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that your worth isn't determined by how others treat you, but by who you choose to become despite them. Take care of yourselves out there. And remember that sometimes the family you choose is more important than the family you're given. Until next time,